Well, 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 the Dragon Commander himself. Come, sit, drink with me. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. He's had a few too many. But you'd take to the right too if you had an imp apparatus for an arm. Never told you how I came by this eyesore, did I? 'Twas during the great and glorious last stand to save the Empire. Horseshit! We fought like lions so that the king, your bloody father, could scarper with what riches he could hold. But my soldiers did their duty. They died where they stood, and I was left for dead, want of an eye and an arm. Not that any of it mattered. The king's head was shown decorating a stake, like star crowns will the pines come midwinter night. Defeat. Bah! Luckily, a touch of the malt can relieve its bitter taste. Oh, I shall, believe you me, lad. Gone are the days that Death and I dance and duel for the sake of some undeserving arsehole whose sole claim to authority is the birthright to park his fat rear on a throne. Never again. Commander, a word in your ear. There seems to be a spot of trouble in one of the provinces. Some lizard rebel running amok. Naught but a trifle that Prospera has requested us to deal with. But she wants me and Bloody Edmund to go together. Yes, he's a lizard too, it stands to reason. But the man's as pleasant as a cactus down your trousers. So if you don't mind, I'll go alone. Oh, it'll get done all right, and the quicker for it. That arrogant Burke can sit here sipping his sherry while I teach his kinsmen why they'll suddenly find their guts all over the floor should they piss me off. Mission accomplished, Commander. I faced those split-tongued rebels and cracked more skulls than they do during an undead wrestling competition. I've no idea what Prosper is so upset about, though. I did the job, didn't I? Oh, diplomacy be damned. If them lizards' egos are as battered and bruised as that one god lot, 'tis no problem of mine. Bloody cold bloods. Handle the situation with care. Our very brothers and sisters belong to that wayward band. Well, my very sword solved the ruddy problem, didn't it? Hard to pray to one god or seven without a head on your shoulders. By all the gods, real or imaginary, devils take my manhood if that Catherine creature isn't a bigger bitch than a mountain-sized mastiff. So what if I wage war by my own rules and care little for her so-called team tactics? That's no reason to question my ability. She's lucky she has tits to prove she's not a man, or I'd have beaten her more savagely than a dwarf is anvil. Besides, what's the use of standing shoulder to shoulder when you know the fella next to you will run once the swords start ringing and the blood begins to flow? Aye, that's what happened the day I lost my arm. I stood my ground, alone. And the rest of the Emperor's generals, they outran their wives and their litter trying to escape. So much for loyalty. So much for duty. Aye, I'll drink to that. All for one, and each man for his bloody self. Commander. Your bold leadership is starting to have an effect on me, you know. Yes, I followed your advice to the letter. There's only one person you can trust, and that's yourself. True words were never spoken, since the last dame I bedded yelled, "Henry, you're a beast!" Fitting advice it was too. For not hours after you gave it, I was out near the borders of the realm when a distress call came. Seemed some elves decided to play ranger and went behind enemy lines. Obviously, they stood as much chance as a nun in an orc cave, but still, that Oberon chap demanded I fly to the rescue. So, politely but firmly, I declined his request and told him the day I risk my own hide for the sake of some frigging forest fairies is the day I propose to an ogre. That seemed to settle it.
Henry has a spot of daughter trouble, has he? These teenage girls, they're all the same. Scarlet and Catherine actually want to abandon ship and rush to her rescue. Can you imagine? At least I have the sense of duty to remain here in the epicenter of your power, where generals are truly needed. Well, there's that, and the fact that I just can't be bothered.
Commander, we have anxiously awaited your return, for our spies brought dire news. Some obscure nobleman by the name of Drury has ordered top assassins to kidnap and kill Henry's daughter Anne. Her death would crush him, and that's exactly how that prick tries to get the attention of our enemies. By robbing you of one of your generals, he seeks the same post in their armies. You know there'd be no stopping Henry. He sped off home the instant he heard the news, so now Catherine and I would like your permission to go after him. If he has to face those backstabbing bastards, we want to face them with him. But Henry and Anne, how can you leave him to face those vultures alone? He's worth 10 men in combat, but who's to say Drury didn't send more?
Am I correct in understanding Henry is now threatening to blow up some church or chapel or something? Ha! The dear old chap never ceases to amuse. In a crude sort of fashion.
Things have gone from bad to worse in the Henry situation, Commander. He made it home but found it empty. Anne was kidnapped by undead assassins of the worst kind. Luckily, they don't care about Lord Drury's ambitions and have communicated that they will release her if they're paid more in ransom than their employer was willing to give. I'd take them up on their offer, but Henry is convinced they'll kill Anne nonetheless and has therefore taken somewhat more drastic measures. Relying on the piety of the undead, he has commanded warships to annihilate their most sacred sanctum, the Skeleton Spire, unless his daughter is returned to him unharmed. This is madness, Commander. The entire undead community is in uproar. It had better. I never took you for a gambling man, Commander, and I hope you know what you're doing. If this goes south, we'll have an undead uprising on our hands.
Glory be! I'm sure you're happier than a squirrel in a nut shop to see me return victorious, aren't you, Commander? Those daft carcasses never knew what hit them. The moment they saw my warships poised over their tower thingy, they released my hand before you could say, "Yorick's a rotten egg." I understand there's been a bit of a ruckus back here at HQ. Talk of madness and all that, nervous ninnies. I wouldn't really have destroyed the undead sacred temple. Do you hear that, everyone? 'Twas a bluff, nothing more. Simple souls, eh? Bless 'em. Between you and me, Commander, if they had so much as defiled my daughter with a single graze of their grave-risen fingers along her gentle skin, I'd have blown that bloody tower to kingdom come and made such a mess out of every one of them bags of bones in my path, it'd take 1,000,000 of them as many years to puzzle their ill-begotten brethren back together. Oh well, it didn't come to that, so no harm, no foul, as they say. A drink, Commander? I beheaded Lord Drury myself, by the way. Here, have a taste. 1,200-year-old single malts. Here was a job that needed to be done quickly and decisively. Luck be unto me that I alone was there to oversee its completion. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself and others be damned. A man alone is a rock. Put him among others, and he's a pebble. Come to have a chat, Commander. Just as well, for I've been meaning to have a word with the dragon myself. Remember when I told you about losing my arm and eye? How I lost it standing guard for your father, an emperor unworthy of his throne? Well, telling you got me thinking, as well as drinking. And here's the conclusions I've come to. I was different then, you see. And not just because I was more man and less machine. No. The day they hacked me up good, there was much more that I lost. In that arm lay stored loyalty and duty. In that eye, trust and friendship. Out the door, just like that. And you know what I say now? Good bloody riddance. Duty, hogwash, loyalty, bull. Highbrow notions coined by high-up hypocrites meant to keep their subjects in their servile place. And I'll have none of it. Yes, it is bitter that it took betrayal to open my eye, but that's the way it is. A lone wolf was born that day, and it takes a lone wolf to survive in these times of absolute war. I'll stick by you, Commander, because it's a war I want to win. But you remain the son of your father, and though you are a dragon, the egg doesn't roll far from the nest. You have my sword, not my heart, though that should still be more than enough to drink to. Bottoms up, Commander. A toast to old Henry. To war, Commander, for without it, there can be no victory.